All right, everyone, welcome and thank you for joining. This is IdeaScale's webinar, and I will get things moving. So this is from Brainstorm to Breakthrough, creating a culture of innovation in government. And we have two guest speakers today, which is really exciting. We have Natalia Cornwell from the Virginia DOT, and we have Mark Ascione from the FDA. Let's just go over the agenda quickly, and then I'll move things along. But we're going to quickly go over what is IdeaScale. And then I'll pass things over to Natalia, followed by Mark's presentation, and we'll end things with a 10-minute Q&A. This will be an hour-long presentation, and it will be recorded. So anything you'd like to reference after, feel free. And then we do have a Q&A section you'll see on the bottom. So if you have any questions as we go along, you can feel free to add them in there or at the end. All right, so what is IdeaScale? IdeaScale, we are a government innovation thought leader. We were established in 2009, actually by a White House initiative. And since then, we've been helping government break down silos, open communication barriers across organizations. So it's seniority, department-wide. We eliminate administrative burdens, track idea implementation, and why we're all here, we transform cultures. We are FedRAMP certified, which is awesome. And we empower over 4.5 million users annually to share their ideas. These are some of the agencies and organizations that we work with. You will see Virginia DOT and the FDA on there. We also have some other great organizations like the FHFA, Post Office, awesome things. All right, and our first speaker, here's Natalia. You can read all of this about Natalia. She's a project manager in the Office of Strategic Innovation for the Virginia Department of Transportation. Natalia has been instrumental in launching innovation crowdsourcing and collaboration platform. We get to work with Natalia a lot one-on-one. She's been conducting innovation labs throughout the state and developing innovation training courses for the employees. And then we'll hear from Mark. Mark is an operations research analyst for the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research at the FDA. Mark's been there for 10 years now. And something that's really great about his job is his office has a lot of freedom in pursuing innovative ways to support the mission. So with that freedom, two fairly new and curious staff members, as Mark would say, they led the start of the crowdsourcing platform, which is what Mark will be talking about today. All right, and I will pass it over to Natalia.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for your interest in VDOT's innovation journey. So first, I'd like to talk a little bit about what VDOT is. We are a state agency. We have about 7,800 employees. We're made out of 9 districts with 5 regions, and we have about 200 separate offices across the state. Our mission is to plan, deliver, and operate a safe transportation system to move the people, the goods, and enhance the economy and improve the life of our citizens. We maintain 58,000 miles of interstate primary roads, secondary roads, and frontage roads. So why do we innovate? What drives us to innovate? So first of all, we're all aware of our aging infrastructure. We always have to do something new, patching the holes, updating the bridges. Safety is a huge paramount for us, for public and the workforce. There is a new expectations for multimodal mobility, especially around bigger metropolitan areas like Northern Virginia. So we also, as I mentioned, have 250 offices across a large geography. So we want to make sure that we bridge the silos and be as effective as possible. Right now, with the social media and everything, the engagement of our citizens and their expectations are definitely growing, and we want to deliver that. Nobody can forget the disruptive technologies like emergence of connected autonomous vehicles, unmanned aerial systems, 5G, AI, machine learning, predictive analytics. All of these things are popping up here and there, and we want to make sure we take a full advantage of the technologies that are emerging and make them appropriate tools in our tool belt. Cybersecurity challenges are becoming more prominent. And finally, we all facing with the budgetary and resource constraints. So we want to make sure that we spend money in a smart way to benefit the Commonwealth. So why do we do this innovation? What's our strategy? Our thought process of all the emerging technologies and new tools and methodology, we want to make sure that we select the right ones for us to deliver our critical mission. So we want to skate to where the pack will be, not where it is right now. So we are the VDOT of tomorrow. So we are prepared and engaged, and our employees are well trained and encouraged to think outside the box and suggest creative solutions and be able to problem solve on the spot if necessary. So to accomplish that, I think it's very important that definition of innovation is very clear to every single employee. We have a wide range of employees at VDOT, from executive leadership. We have a lot of engineers, we have a lot of PhDs, but we also have a lot of folks on the ground in the field doing the work. So we want to make sure that innovation and innovation process and a definition don't seem to be intimidating and is very well understood and approachable. So we make sure that everybody knows that innovation is not just new devices and shiny objects. It's a process of discovering new ways to do things better. And we want everybody to understand that and not be scared and intimidated. Every good idea people have, it's a part of innovation. So to help establish this culture of innovation, VDOT have introduced the Office of Strategic Innovation where I work, and we work very closely with Virginia Transportation Research Council, which is another entity of Virginia Department of Transportation. Our goals is to make sure we support core innovation, we champion, promote it, and we also have to make sure that we programmatically manage transformational innovations. We divide the innovations into categories at VDOT: transformational and core. So, for example, the connected and autonomous vehicles is a transformational innovation. So our office will write the roadmap, position all the necessary elements for successful handoff to our operations division. In those cases, with core innovations, we just make sure that we provide whatever necessary support to our teams across the state by either leading or enabling them or partnering. We monitor new things that come up through Grapevine and make sure that we don't miss anything. Any new process or technology or methodology that is available and can be successfully used by our employees. One of the important things for our employees, and especially in the field, to understand what is the innovation process. So you have an idea, that's fantastic, but what do you do with this? So we developed this system where every employee can clearly understand each step. We first step of the process, obviously, have that light bulb come off, kind of form the idea and then share it with others so it's be seen. So we have this wonderful platform powered by IdeaScale, Idea Driver, where any employee can go and submit other ideas. And those ideas being reviewed and evaluated as a next step. We have a team of cross-functional subject matter experts, depending on the campaign and the type of the idea. We will review, evaluate, ask additional questions if necessary of our idea submitters, and make sure we form and build up the idea and understand it thoroughly before we make that go, no-go decision. So we will look at, obviously, return on investment, how many people will be engaged in the development and using of the process of the idea, and make that decision. We also look at, does it meet with our priorities as a state agency? Does it address the needs? So we make that no-go decision. Once a decision was made to go ahead, we're going to go ahead, develop the solution, engage necessary folks, communities of practice if necessary, and pilot the process or method or tool or idea. important thing that we think about all the time is that not to forget it's okay to fail. We want to make sure that we fail quickly, learn our lessons, and move on, because failure is a part of the learning experience. We shouldn't be scared of it, but we need to recognize it soon so we don't lose any more time and resources on something that will not be very fruitful for our agency. And finally, if the pilot is successful, we want to introduce the idea across the agency and make sure that folks who can benefit from it can use it, and we'll help them to scale it if necessary. So our innovation principles, I think it's really important that everybody at VDOT feels empowered to share the thoughts and ideas. I think it doesn't matter what your role is. You may be an engineer, you may be somebody in a traffic operations center, you may be in the field patching the potholes and working the equipment. We all have thoughts and knowledge and experience, and we want everybody at VDOT being able to contribute their ideas and comments. And you don't always have an idea of your own, however, you have that knowledge that you can help, you can use to help others to build up and improve and develop their ideas further. So we definitely want to promote all the ideas across the agency. They're captured centrally, as I said, through our Idea Driver platform. And we want to make sure that they have the visibility for everybody who may need a similar process or a tool. Our approach to piloting and scaling those innovations depend on the size and type of the process. We don't want to, force something in the process that doesn't build for it. So we're trying to be fluid and flexible. And obviously, we want to make sure that all of our efforts are supporting the strategy of VDOT and Office of Secretary of Transportation. So this is a big slide to unpack. This is actually things that we do in terms of the support, promote, enable, empower, innovation process and thought at VDOT. Obviously, we have, as I mentioned, Idea Driver platform that is powered by IdeaScale. It's a great environment where we encourage everybody to go and share their ideas. This is excellent tool that provides transparency to our folks. They understand that when they put something out there, that everybody can see it. So it's not like you're sending it to your boss and your boss making a decision, I like it or I don't like it. Everybody can see it, and they know that there is an evaluation team is going to look at your idea and work through it. We also encourage our folks to go check out ideas of others, vote, and as I said, comment. And with the knowledge and expertise, I cannot underestimate the value of collective brain power. One head is great, 2 and 3 and 500 is even better in terms of improving one idea. In the last couple of years, we established communities of practice. There's so many new wonderful tools coming for folks to use and methodologies. So we kicked off at least 6 communities of practice, Power Apps, robotics, GIS. Those tools are fantastic, and we don't want our IT to be a bottleneck where somebody needs something built with those tools and they have to go through the IT. So we established this community of practice that meet monthly and provide the information of the news and updates on those particular tools. They provide tutorials and training sessions. They work together to identify ideas that need to be developed and support each other. Anybody can at any time jump into the site of one of those community of practice and ask a question while they're working on something. So what we're doing with this is we are teaching our folks to fish instead of feeding them fish. I'm sorry, my screen just went black. Hello, anybody can hear me?
We can still hear you.
That is so funny. All right. I will try to continue without seeing you guys. Sorry about that. Another big thing was started about 4 years ago, our innovation labs. These are 2-3 day events for our districts where we bring the group of folks that seem to be very interested and motivated and driven to think outside the box and innovate, and they're full of ideas, and we teach them innovation process. We provide educational content, and most importantly, they get to brainstorm, figure out the problems they want to tackle. They divide it into teams and actually problem solve and present the solution at the end of the innovation lab. We have a panel of evaluators who select the winning project, and we fund and sponsor that project. So it's bragging rights, it's feel-good thing, but it's also wonderful because, you know, we may have 50, 60 people in the innovation lab, and they'll go back in the everyday work and share the knowledge they have learned. So they kind of proliferate that knowledge throughout the agency. We're really taking this model seriously. We started with a huge state lab before pandemic, then pandemic came, and we said, this is too good to give up. So we developed a virtual model for this and did quite a few virtual models. Then we did a virtual versus live hybrid moment model as we were coming out of pandemic, and now we're evolving it further into the Shark Tank style because we have so many good ideas coming through those innovation labs that we want to implement as many as possible. Innovation Toolshed is a site that we use on our intranet page. There's so many, again, there's so many new methodologies and tech and tools coming out. We want to make it easy for our employees to find them. So we created a site where we keep it all in one place and everybody knows where to go if they want to find the latest curated list on innovation reading. We created one of those that we encourage folks to read those books if they want to take an extra effort. There again, links to community of self-practice, to our VTRC, to our innovation training course that we have created custom for our VDOT employees. There are a lot of great innovation courses out there, but this is one particular course that focuses on VDOT innovation process, our definition, and what needs to be done and how to accomplish what you're trying to do with your new ideas. Finally, well, not finally, we also have a VDOT Voices program, which is a series of monthly live webinars, just like this one, where different districts go and present the accomplishments and their innovative ideas and processes that they have created. So it has been a huge success because this is a way to cross-pollinate wonderful things that happen, you know, within the district, across the agency. It's also great recognition and bragging opportunity as well. So, and finally, we have a recognition program that encourages that creative thinking, stepping outside the box, and gives opportunity to folks to kind of say, hey, look at me, I have done that, and share with other folks the accomplishments. Oh, and we also have a quarterly newsletter that serves all of the above purposes. Again, highlighting the new wonderful things happening at the agency, innovative solutions, highlighting innovators, highlighting any research that has been done that may be very beneficial across the agency as well. And next, I think we will talk about our best practices and lessons learned. So you're starting your innovation program, what shall you be aware of? Basically, it's a paramount to secure leadership support. If you don't have the leadership support, there is no sense in doing this. As I mentioned, it's very important to define and share your innovation strategy, definition, and process, so everybody throughout the agency understand what is innovation, what are the rules of engagement, how they can participate, what they do and how they do it. So it's very important, and we continue our work trying to explain this through articles we put on our intranet page, kind of reminding folks, because maybe at one point you read something about our innovation strategy or definition and you weren't interested, but now you have an idea and all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, how do I get this done again? So we continue to send this message over and over again. Another important thing is, as you empower your employees to be innovative and creative and think outside the box, you got to understand your risk tolerance, because you know, with great risks come great rewards, but also sometimes great ideas fail. So what is your risk tolerance? Help your employees understand how far they can go and you know, where they need to ask for help. So they're not scared to share their innovative ideas, and they're not scared to fail, and they feel like they have the support necessary. So those boundaries and risk tolerance is very, very important. Creating a safe collaboration space is a paramount. I talked about our innovation labs. That's one of the ways. Our idea driver platform is another way we create that safe space. We always tell our folks, listen, there is no bad ideas. There are no silly ideas. Some ideas may not be developed all the way, so we'll help you through this. Some ideas may be good ideas and popular with employees, but it may not be the right time, or we may not have resources to get them accomplished now. But regardless of the ideas being provided, we always have the respectful space for our employees. We thank them for ideas. We even, if we're not pursuing an idea, we make an extra effort to explain why we're not pursuing this idea, and encourage them to not give up and share their ideas going forward. We're looking forward to ideas in the future. And also our communities of practice save us that safe space for collaboration and learning and creating. Plan ahead. So plan ahead is a big one, because when we started our journey about 4 years ago with IdeaScale, we did not realize what a time warp of the process will be, getting some of the regulatory requirements out of the way. We have such thing as ECOs that we had to gain approval and get some exceptions from commissioner and other leadership to get the platform available for us. So it took us almost a year. So we could have planned better, but this is a lesson we learned. So plan ahead. There may be some regulatory, budgetary constraints, so make sure you're aware and know how to tackle them. Next is providing incentives and recognition to the folks. You know, there's always what's in it to me, right? It's great, I can do my job, or I can do my job better and be recognized and acknowledged for the efforts I put in. So it's very important we have a recognition program. And we continue to develop that to make it more attractive to our employees. You know, it's great when you have ideas, but you got to provide folks with tools and the training. As I mentioned, we have created the training course customized to our agency, and we continue to scan the tools and methods available there, and we share it through our innovation tool sheds and other means as well during the innovation labs and our intranet articles. So continue to provide tools and training, because folks that have good tools are feeling much more empowered. Secure funding. You know, every time we plan an innovation lab, we're saying, okay, district, are you ready to provide financing to your winning idea? Because if we like the idea and don't have the funds, it's no good. So make sure that you secure funding. And most importantly, engage the right innovation champions. I'm not just talking about people with purse strings. I'm talking about those movers and shakers at the agencies who understand how your agency or your company work, who understand how to get a yes, how to move something through the process from ideation to actual fruition. It is very, very important to have those champions who will help development team and ideator to make the ideas a reality. And I think at this point, I am ready to take some questions at the end of Mark's part.
Thank you so much, Natalia. That was great. I'm going to pass it over to Mark now, and then after that will be the Q&A for Natalia. But if anyone has questions before then, you can put them in the Q&A chat and we'll look at them at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining and giving us this opportunity to share our journey in innovation and particularly in crowdsourcing. Before I really dive into the presentation, I'll give you just a brief overview of the FDA and specifically my role and my part of the organization. So many people know the Food and Drug Administration has a pretty big array of products that they regulate, ranging from food, cosmetics, nutritionals, all the way to the drugs that you may be prescribed for various reasons. The Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, the center that I work in, specifically focuses on making sure that the public has access to safe and effective medications. So different drugs include some biologics as well as generics. My office specifically, part of the Office of Strategic Programs and Analysis, I'm part of the Program Evaluation Implementation staff. So as an office and as a staff, we collect data, we analyze that data, we provide recommendations on how different processes, different programs are supporting our center's mission. And we also often support implementation and improvement upon that. Lizzie mentioned in the introduction that we're fortunate in my office that we have a lot of freedom. And we have a lot of staff that has come in from innovation backgrounds, and they have used that freedom to develop new programs, whether it's supporting drug shortages, looking at some of the new efforts into artificial intelligence, ranging to even the benefit risk framework that our review divisions use to evaluate drug applications. Because of that freedom, we can go to the next slide now. And I'll share with you the origins of a program, where we started from, and particularly some of our successes that we've had over the years. Focus a lot on what we've learned from our crowdsourcing program, but also talk about where we have room to grow, some of the challenges we faced, and how we want to try to address those challenges. This all started 10 years ago. When I first started at the agency, there was another colleague of mine, Kim Taylor, who also was fairly new to the center and the staff. We attended a Partnership for Public Service workshop on internal communication, and we literally met with our supervisor the next day. The one thing we both really had circled from that workshop was crowdsourcing. It's a great tool to engage our employees. He gave us the green light and encouraged us to do the research, talk to other agencies, and really build that business case and plan for how we'd approach going about doing this. It took a good year or so to get that far into it, but we did learn over that time that, well, one, we are operating as part-time crowdsourcers, meaning this isn't our full-time job. It's actually a pretty small part of it. So it gave us limited resources to actually run the program. So we knew from hearing from other agencies and given our time constraints that we couldn't have something that was an always ongoing program, that we needed to focus on short-term, specific targeted windows. And we'll get into some of the benefits of that as I dive into our program. But after about a year of research and building our business case and sharing it across the center, we were able to launch back in June of 2014. Go on the next one, please. So from that time, we've run what we call 51 challenges, or 51 different engagements with various sponsors. They range from things that were center-wide, so 17 of them were targeted to the 5,000 plus employees within Cedar, to 34 of them that were within specific offices and staff. We've found just different levels of success. Obviously, we can get more volume when we reach that broader audience, but we see a lot higher engagement and a lot more dialogue when targeted within specific offices. Having that smaller group where you could really focus on communication and energizing people to want to participate and to be able to see the results more readily really helps with getting people involved and wanting to participate in something like crowdsourcing. We had an early metric when we started this. We wanted to really drive engagement and participation, particularly when we're looking at topics that are related to how our office functions, how we might want to improve upon those office functions. Those we thought it was very important to see people at very least come in and vote on the different ideas that are submitted. So we set a very high target to get 80% participation in some of those, and we were able to achieve that. A lot of it was through the network of people promoting how we would go about doing the crowdsourcing, but really trying to build that energy among the participants to encourage others to join in. For the course of the 10 years, we've had 2,000 ideas submitted with 4,000 comments to those ideas, giving a lot of feedback to senior leaders to make decisions on a lot of our internal operations, as well as how we do different things. A lot of that success is driven by how we structured the program. Specifically, as I mentioned previously, this focus on short-term targeted engagements. That gave us an opportunity to define a specific sponsor for that engagement and define moderators who would help foster the conversation among participants. Focus questions related to a specific need, ranging from how do we make the agency more green to how do we improve morale from the center, or what are some topics for AI committee to look into as part of educating the center. The main really kind of driver to success related to that is this idea of a focused time period. We've seen across all of our engagements, sometimes up to half of the activity happens over the last couple of days. Having that finality of this is your opportunity to speak and contribute to it really gets people to shift away from their day-to-day activities and participate in that aspect. Another big part of that success is communications. We started early working with our office communications and having a dedicated staff member to work with us as we developed communication plans that was focused to the target audience. Our idea was to really try to find multiple modes and touch points, so that it's not just an email at the beginning, email at the end, but they're hearing the message from their supervisors through presentations, other structured ways to really get people involved and participating in innovation and crowdsourcing. And then finally, the incentives piece. One, we try to target that to what is the goal of the engagement. Is it really about having those one or two novel ideas that we're looking for, or more about bringing people in and getting them to talk about something? If it's the former, we reward the top ideas, often with time off, or back when we used to come into the office, an executive parking space. If it's the latter, we would reward the group that had the highest performance. So like sometimes it'd be like a pizza party, or again, a more group-wide time off award. Some of the more recent successes we've had, and just the various audiences we targeted, we had one that was office specific. This was actually in my office. For those that aren't familiar with the federal workspace, there's an employee viewpoint survey that goes out every year that gives essentially a way to standardize ratings across all agencies. This is something that's certainly reviewed and gives that benchmark to determine how are we doing as an agency. We were using crowdsourcing as an opportunity to say, all right, here's what we've identified as some of our challenge areas. How do we go about improving upon those? And so we got things like having a more structured theme to our all-hand meetings, interactive activities in those all-hand meetings, so it wasn't just people presenting and lectures and whatnot. Relaunching our office newsletter and having a way to actually sustain that. to actually a very popular program that we call interest groups, ranging from yoga to gardening to sports, where we just take some time on a biweekly aspect to get together as personnel in the office to talk about non-work related things that we're all interested in. Been actually very fruitful. Another one that we had that was center-wide, that was our most engaging campaign, this was run in the middle of the pandemic, was how do we improve morale center-wide? That one we saw 256 ideas. I will say a lot of them were about the flexibility and when working arrangements, particularly the ability to telework, work remotely. It did see 1 in every 5 people participate. And that led to a lot of instruction for our operations committee to really think about how we can structure our plan going forward. And then lastly, another one was just focused on ideas to get in the pipeline of our innovation board, and to come up with different technology-driven ideas that could help support the mission. So there's actually 5 ideas that came out of that, and I'd like to highlight that one of those ideas was anonymously submitted, to the point where the winner of that idea never revealed themselves, but it was looking for a way to process PDF files into editable and Excel tables to help with reviewing applications. So there's a way to really save time on the operations and further the work we do at the center. One reason why crowdsourcing is so effective at driving engagement, and it often, at least in our agency, gets compared to things like surveys or even focus groups. The first aspect is this concept of multi-directional communication. With a crowdsourcing platform like IdeaScale, you have an opportunity to not only have your participants see what other people are saying and build upon those ideas, but the sponsors, those who are seeking the information, have a chance to engage the participants directly and not wait till all the information is collected. They can ask feedback questions and really help spark that conversation more and more by responding in comments and submitting follow-up questions to people. The second aspect is outcome transparency. And I'll admit and get into this a little bit later, this is an area we struggle. We have a large set of data that we're collecting with ideas from our participants on different ways we can be innovative related to our topic. We have an opportunity to be able to tie those to an outcome and show people that their feedback's being heard and what's happening to it. And there's a very succinct data set that we can use to help capture that information and communicate back to the participants that this is worthwhile and that their ideas are being evaluated and listened to. And then the third piece, and this is something that I think is critical, especially in the area of innovation, is what my communications team may be changed to non-traditional marketing. I will say here, I like to use the term disruptive. You know, an agency of 5,000 people, there are a lot of people that are very focused on their task and what they're doing. It's certainly an agency that has a pretty big workload in front of it. So getting them to do something that's outside of their normal lane of work is a challenge. So having a marketing approach, a communication approach that really kind of shakes them a little bit and gets them to focus their attention somewhere else can be helpful in getting them to participate. So we try a lot of different things, some that have been suggested from other agencies that we've talked to, like a kickoff meeting that we borrowed from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, to other facilitation techniques where we've tried partnering people within individual offices to talk about the challenge offline and come up with ideas and really spend more time in the process than just submitting responses to a survey. Why is that engagement beneficial, particularly for innovation? Well, first of all, it expands the brain power that's working on any given problem. A lot of times, the types of topics that we focus on with our crowdsourcing program, it's typically handled by a single executive or a small executive team. While they certainly have a lot of experience, a lot of intelligence, and certainly a lot of capability in doing this, by engaging this broader audience, they get unique ideas that they wouldn't have thought of on their own. Not only from just the number of people that we're targeting, but also the diversity and experience that they're able to offer and different points of view that can help shape the ultimate solution. It also provides that window into what leadership is thinking. From a rank and file aspect and working more on the front lines, a lot of times you don't have that visibility and knowing what's important to leadership and how we may fit into the organization and what they're looking for us. This gives an opportunity to not only see what's important to them, but how they respond to the feedback that I'm giving them. And then finally, that equal voice aspect and really an opportunity to buy into the innovation and change. Even just involving people in the discussion, it helps get them to say, all right, at least I have my voice. I'm more committed to the solution that we're going forward with because we had this dialogue. It also gives more people an opportunity to have their say into it and to make sure that it's not just the limited few that are making decisions. So label as growth. I'll also identify these as challenges. There's kind of three broader areas that we've been really focused on over the last year. The first is what we call the breadth and depth of engagement. And by breadth, we're talking about really the number of people that are involved. I mentioned earlier, our most successful engagement had 20% of the center involved. That means there's still 80%, several thousand people that really haven't touched crowdsourcing. How can we get more of those people involved, at least to see what's happening, see what people are saying, and have that opportunity to participate? The depth piece, I mentioned also earlier that a lot of people look at this like a survey, and we hear that, unfortunately, still a lot from staff when they participate that, hey, I saw the crowdsourcing questions, I responded, what more am I supposed to do? What we're looking for in that depth piece is to have that conversation that as more people are submitting ideas, commenting on ideas, is an opportunity for back and forth discussion to improve the quality of those ideas. By improving that breadth and depth, we broaden that brain power, increase that diversity, and get more thoughtfulness in the ideas. Part of it, what will help with that is being more consistent. Also, I've talked about how this is a part-time job for us. That limits the amount of resources we're able to dedicate to promoting the program, engaging senior leaders and sponsoring it, and really getting people to utilize crowdsourcing as a way to unlock innovation. If we are able to have a more consistent approach, if it's by finding a few offices that will do some sort of engagement on an annual basis, that will help strengthen the habit or create the habit for theater staff to participate in a process like this, helps our sponsors become familiar with how to monitor and actually utilize data that's coming in from this process, which then of course is up our time to really help promote and find new ways to engage people. And then the last piece is that visible impact. We've had over 2,000 ideas come in. Only a handful, we have clear case examples of here's what happened and here's the success that came from it. That's something we need to do a better job of from a program standpoint, but we also need help from our sponsors as well. How do we take the individual nuggets of ideas, combine them into the broader themes, and communicate it back to our participants? One of the challenges we run into is it's not the only source of information or ideas that's going to lead to the ultimate solution. We need to be able to tie how crowdsourcing affected the overall approach. The other challenge is a lot of times we don't see the results for a year and a half. So how do we keep people tied into what happened to crowdsourcing, keep them aware of the results, even though the ultimate solution may not be for 18 months down the line? One of the things we've been working on is coming up with a check-in approach where we have, say, like quarterly check-in points where the sponsor will communicate back out to the audience and say, here's the progress we've made so far. We've looked at the ideas, we're making these decisions, and this is what the thought process looks like. I think with that is all I have for today. So I'll turn it back over to Lizzie, and then I think next is the Q&A.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mark. I will stop sharing and we can move into the Q&A. Okay, let me look at this chat. All right, and we also have Crystal here from IdeaScale, just in case anyone has any IdeaScale specific questions. All right. This one is for you, Natalia. Has your overall Virginia Department of Transportation budget from the state increased over recent years due to your innovation outcomes?
Good question, thank you. The increases were very small based on outcomes because we are a highly budgeted organization, but yes, I think more will prove ourselves. Again, we're only in the 4th year of this journey, and our leadership changes every 4 years. So this is something to consider. But yes, we had a small incremental increases, which is a huge deal for us because right now our budget, state agency budgets are pretty tight.
Cool, thank you. For Mark, how do you cultivate and maintain a culture to promote engagement and participation?
I think a lot of that's really about the energy that's brought to the program. What I saw when we were doing our initial research, every agency that we talked to, even within our own, it starts with a small group of really dedicated people that are willing to think out of the box and really willing to put the energy to get people to buy in. And that's both managing up, getting the sponsors, getting the executives to see the importance of what they're doing and how our effort as innovators is really helping them in their overall mission, and managing to the participants who are generally fairly engaged in their work and need to know why they're doing this and how it really benefits them. So having a group of people that are really willing to stay on top of that has been instrumental in what we do.
Great, thank you. Another one for you, Natalia. When VDOT has a good idea, how do you go about getting the internal funding to support making that good idea a reality?
Yeah, so as I said, we have a very well-established evaluation process to make sure that the idea fits all the necessary buckets. And then our department of our Office of Strategic Innovation has a little bit of the budget we can share. We also can dip in the funding from Virginia Research Council, Transportation Research Council. They have a budget and they have money set aside for things like that. So we can gain support there. We also go to some federal agencies for help sometimes as well. So it depends on the scale and amount of money necessary. For example, we have one of the Innovation Lab winning ideas was structure high water monitoring for flooding on the roads, and we was able to secure the funding from a federal agency in amount of more than $500,000 for this idea. So we go and promote and ask and look for support. Yeah.
Awesome. This one is for either of you, and it's coming up a couple of different times in different wordings. But how do you know when you are succeeding? I interpret that as like succeeding in innovating, but interpret it however you'd like.
We go about several ways. We start with the very tactical of what did participation look like, looking at just the volume of discussions going on through ideas and comments. But we, being part of an evaluation staff, we have also several times used other members of our evaluation staff to do a broader evaluation of our program and have gotten feedback both from the sponsor side as well as the participant side that we are seeing success. People do see value in the program. I will go back to what I was talking about at the end of my presentation. there's a lot of room for us to improve upon that. I think we certainly see the opportunity there. We need to do a better job of really demonstrating that success.
Awesome.
Well, part of our success measurement is, engagement, right? How much people go into Idea Driver, how many people want to participate in innovation labs, what they learn and what they take away, and if they continue to suggest and bring ideas and contribute to ideas of others. This is one. And two, obviously, we know it's not about the number of ideas you get in, it's about the quality of executable ideas that make difference. So when we get the funding for those ideas and get things implemented, I think we're successful. For example, when we launched our community of practice for power apps, power automations, we kicked off a community of practice and an idea driver campaign at the same time to collect ideas. So this was for us the most successful campaign to date because a lot of folks participated and we implemented about 29 or 30% of the ideas. So we actually created apps that people are using today across the agency. So it's the impact that we make. Some campaigns are more successful than others, but if the things that come through being used by the agency and make lives easier and better and safer, this is our success. Maybe it's not very well, doesn't fit in any buckets or reporting, but truly it's the feeling and the impact that it creates.
I love that. And there's actually a question kind of going off of that. For you, Natalia, what is the coolest project that Virginia DOT has crowdsourced?
It's about how do you pick your favorite child? We had a lot of great things happening. I'm very passionate about 3D printing, and I'm actually running the pilot program for 3D printing and VDOT. So we had a lot of cool projects there where we have created visual aids for chainsaw sharpening. Folks, it's really tricky to sharpen chainsaws apparently. And so I have created a large chainsaw tooth, and it's being used in every HQ to teach chainsaw sharpening, and we're not breaking out chainsaws very often. We, as I bragged already about our power apps, there's so many great power apps that make our lives of our employees so much easier and safer. There's just so many wonderful things that are happening, from solar pole lighting for the dark country little offices that we not using anymore much electricity. They get charged during the day and create light at night. There's so many wonderful things that are happening through here.
That's understandable. Mark, same question to you then. Who's your favorite child?
We don't have as many cool outcomes because a lot of ours are very operationally and cultural focused. The two I'll highlight though, I mentioned it earlier, the interest groups that we do within our office. I think it's really great from a cultural standpoint that we have 150 people across the two offices and our broader super office, and we don't interact. Especially now that we're remote, we don't interact with them as nearly as much as we used to, or much at all. So it's an opportunity to get to know people on a human level and talk about something you might be passionate about. My current crowdsourcing partner, Tasha, actually leads a yoga and meditation one where she walks people. She's a yoga instructor, so she walks people from different yoga moves and whatnot. The other one that we're still kind of diving into, but I thought was interesting. We recently did a topic related to ideas for our artificial intelligence rounds, a group that is trying to bring topics and educate the center on AI. And of course, ChatGPT came up, and one person even asked the bot, we have proprietary information that won't be part of what is trained, the various models are trained on, and obviously we can't share on a public server, so how do we go about doing it? And he shared what the bot came back with, which was a very thought-provoking and detailed response that I think is something that we would consider as an agency.
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially, I love the chat GPT part. Mark, I do have another question for you. Were there any issues with governance process flows at the FDA?
Not really from our perspective. I think this comes from how we've built things, that we really start from the ground up. Our main issues, honestly, I think is almost a lack of governance that may be our issue. I saw some of the questions as well in the chat about performance measures and defining success. We're not held accountable to that right now, and I think that would probably benefit the program at this point, as well as get more visibility to upper levels of management to remind them that what it's here for. I think our bigger issue, more than governance, is getting people to remember that this is an opportunity that's available to them. And so it's something that we're looking on, defining kind of an ambassador role that could be within the offices, that it's someone that works closely enough to an executive that can kind of off-source that responsibility to someone else, that can think about, oh, here's opportunities where crowdsourcing and innovation practice could be beneficial to our office. I think that's really the area we're focused on, at least.
Thank you. Natalia, this is about your communities of practice. How do the communities of practice at Virginia DOT manage the IT security side of new tools and new packages?
Well, so before we can use any tool, it's actually going very scrutinous process at the VITA agency. It's a separate state agency in Virginia that approves a use of certain programs and devices. So we can't do anything without VIA's approval, and that's the cybersecurity side of that. This is why we had such a strong, long onboarding process with IdeaScale, because we had to check off all the boxes before they said, yes, it's okay to bring it on the state COV network.
Natalia, it wasn't that long, right? Just about a year, but that's why
Yes,
FedRAMP came in and we're able to support you through that process. So
it's
kudos to you.
all worth it.
All right. Let's do one more question, and then we'll finish off with one question with Crystal from IdeaScale. What about, how did you coordinate your internal innovations across agencies and departments? That's to anyone that would like to answer.
Is it about scaling, or is it about, yeah, I guess with our agency being so siloed, we want to make sure that we don't reinvent the wheel over and over again, because several offices may have the same problem, but they don't always talk to each other because geographically they're taking care of different areas. So I think that's why it's so important to have a central system that will host and house all the creative things that are happening, like Idea Driver in our case. So this is something we do, and when the pilot is successful, we take extra effort to communicate and educate folks about things that are happening. We're trying to take a little extra time to figure out what other departments or divisions or districts could benefit from it, because we're very, very different, from mountains areas to shore areas. So not everything fits everywhere. So we make sure we find the right folks to share with, and I'm hoping that our quarterly newsletter will address some of that, as well as we will be sharing some innovations that are available at the agency. I hope that was the right answer, the answer they were looking for.
That was great, thank you. And Crystal, what is the common thread you see in successful government innovation programs? Or is there a common thread?
Yeah, so hi everyone. What I would say is a common thread that I see in government innovation programs that are successful is just connection, like wanting to connect with others, hence how we build this successful ecosystem of innovators. But just wanting to connect with other agencies, learn best practices, learn how to prioritize outcomes and implement incentives, just building that like ecosystem of people who are interested in innovation working together and building that process is what I see that kind of helps an innovation program become successful. Just wanted to connect with others and share that experience and what's learned so that way other agencies can implement it and make sure, that whatever they're doing, just planning and strategizing, what that plan looks like, just working, connecting with others is what I see as a common thread with the government agencies.
I love that. Thank you. So we'll wrap things up. Thank you everyone for joining today, and thank you to our panelists. You were both great to listen to. And I hope everyone enjoyed everything. If you do have any questions, you can feel free to email me, elizabeth.fontaine@ideascale.com. All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.